Hello, my dear soul brothers and sisters. It is no coincidence that you are here today. Something much bigger is happening in your life, and you have been guided so far by a force that many do not understand. Have you ever felt that despite being surrounded by people, there is still a persistent feeling of isolation? Which, as much as it tries, romantic connections and friendships simply do not flow as expected. Believe me, this is not a punishment. In fact, it can be one of the lighter signs you were chosen for something grand. My name is John. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and at the end of the video, comment if the content of this video has ever happened to you or is happening to you. Welcome to Chronicles of the Chosen. Let's explore this together. Throughout life, God's chosen ones often find themselves in lonely ways, with few really understanding their experience. And maybe, right now, you are facing this kind of isolation. But what many fail to realize is that this loneliness has a much greater purpose. It is not a punishment, but a preparation. The solitude you feel is the space God is using to work deeply within your soul, refining your wisdom and strengthening your faith. Have you ever wondered why it seems so difficult to maintain close relationships, be they friendships or novels? Or why, as you advance on your spiritual journey, more people seem to move away? The truth is that your mission requires total focus, and God is shaping you in a way that few can follow. This video will help you understand how this isolation can be one of the biggest signs you were chosen for a much larger divine purpose than you think. Before we continue, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. Here you will find messages that will help you better understand your journey and grow as one of the chosen ones. I am very grateful for your presence here. Sometimes the loneliness you feel may seem heavy, as if something was wrong. But what if I told you that this emptiness is not a punishment, but a sign that you were chosen for something much bigger? Solitude can be the beginning of a journey toward the spiritual connection, a preparation that few understand immediately. In your infinite wisdom, God may be separating you from everything that distracts you, because He needs your full attention. In this process, it is common to feel isolated, but remember, you are not lost, you are being prepared. This feeling that something is missing in your life is, in fact, the reflection of a divine mission that has begun to unfold. Isolation is often the first step of this transformation. Imagine a sculptor who, before creating something magnificent, must first remove everything that is unnecessary. God is sculpting you, shaping your spirit, and the loneliness you face now is the moment of greatest refinement. It is silence before the masterpiece. And believe me, this preparation is essential for what is to come. You might wonder why no one understands the loneliness you feel. Perhaps the people around you are living completely differently, and this is no coincidence. God separates you, pushes it away from the distractions from the world, because you are guiding you to a much deeper purpose. On this journey, it is important to keep your faith strong and understand that even when everything seems distant, your connection with the divine is stronger than ever. As you go through this path, you realize that loneliness is an opportunity for spiritual growth. She teaches you to depend on God, not earthly things. In the Bible, great leaders like Moses and Jesus went through periods of isolation before fulfilling their missions. Like them, you are being prepared for something bigger. Your call requires a deep connection with divine wisdom, and it is in this silence that you will find the answers you are looking for. This loneliness also teaches something valuable: the importance of looking inside. In this process, you begin to realize that your mission is unique. The wisdom God wants to share with you can only be received when your heart and mind are free from external noise. It's not easy, I know, but this phase is necessary for its growth. Believe me, this moment will pass, and you will leave it much stronger and prepared to fulfill your purpose. As challenging as it may be, remember that this loneliness is not permanent. In fact, it is space where God speaks directly to you. When everyone around them seems distant, this is when you are closer to your connection with the divine. This spiritual connection you are developing now will be the basis for all that God is preparing for your future. He is guiding you, even if sometimes it seems you are walking alone. And it is in this isolation that true faith manifests itself. When there is no distractions, when your eyes turn inside, you begin to understand your divine mission more clearly. The answers you have sought are there, hoping you find them, and they can only be revealed in this space of solitude. Do not be in a hurry to get out of this phase. It is part of the process that will lead you to something bigger. And by the way, have you ever wondered why your connections to others seem so complicated? Have you ever wondered why, so many times, your relationships just don't flow? You may have noticed that friendships or even romantic relationships end without warning. And honestly, this is not because there is some defect in you. There is a much deeper reason behind it. When you are chosen for a divine mission, your energy changes, affecting everything around. Not everyone can keep up with their pace. Sometimes God separates you from connections that looked good but would deviate from purpose. It hurts, but it's critical. I confess that I see in this a kind of divine filter. If you are called to an intense link with the sacred, certain people will simply not follow your step. You are on a spiritual journey, and not everyone around you are able to walk this path with you. This does not mean that they are bad, just that they may not resonate as often as you vibrate now. I have already felt this divergence of the route myself, and understand how it may seem lonely, but also liberating. In romantic relationships, the challenge is even greater. It is as if no one understands its deep mission. Maybe you wonder why certain stories end before you start. The truth is that God may be preserving you from something that would block your growth. I wonder how much this is an act of care. After all, relationships ask for time, and you need to focus on what is superior. Relationships demand attention and energy. In your case, this force should be channeled to something larger for now. It gives the impression of loneliness, but in fact, there are a lot of people in the same condition. In the Bible, we have examples of leaders who are isolated to strengthen the link with God. Moses, for example, was in the desert before leading his people. I believe this period of removal is vital for your preparation, and there is something remarkable. When you accept that certain connections are not for now, it makes room for something much deeper. The right relationships, aligned with their mission, arise at the exact time. It is not about giving up love or bonds, but understanding that its divine call asks focus. When it is the perfect moment, anyone who has to walk by his side will come naturally. This waiting phase can bring confusion. You see others forming ties, raising families, and wonders why it doesn't happen to you. But remember, your mission is distinct, and what God prepares for you demand patience. I imagine how special it should be to reap the fruits of this preparation. Sometimes waiting is an act of faith, and the reward will be unique when you arrive. This temporary loneliness is a disguised gift. When the right connections knock on your door, they will be in tune with your mission in a way you've never dreamed of. In the meantime of isolation, trust the process. The wisdom that flourishes will now guide you exactly where you need to go. And by the way, have you ever wondered if this loneliness is actually a phase of purification and spiritual elevation? I feel that it is precisely in this stillness that we grow inside. We can see this as a sacred polishing. The diamond needs to be cut to shine, and so do we. It is in this silence that the connection with the divine deepens. Think about it as a type of spiritual refining. Just as a diamond is carved, you are also being shaped. This process may be lonely, but then your communion with God gains additional strength. When it gets away from everything, distractions disappear, and the only audible voice is His. I particularly find this period transformative because it reveals truths that once went unnoticed. In this purification, their weaknesses emerge and just change begins. Through loneliness, you discover unpublished forces. It is demanding, which asks for patience and faith, as gold being proved in fire. But it is in this heat that you establish yourself. Isolation shows what to release and what to nourish. God shapes your heart to a greater mission, and each silence becomes a chance of maturing. In the Bible, there are examples of those who experienced the same. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers and spent years in isolation until he became a leader in Egypt. During this period, he was cut and prepared for what God had planned. Similarly, your current loneliness prepares you for something that may not see yet, but that will emerge in time. This quiet refinement is indispensable to your destination. It is in this recollection that you perceive the real scope of your spiritual connection. With no external voices, you look inside and find the divine wisdom that already inhabits in your being. I believe, with sincerity, that this inner discovery only flourishes when we eliminate the distractions that surround us. And it is precisely in this silence that the heart awakens to the greatest truth. Solitude, then, is not a burden, but an opportunity to refine your soul and strengthen your faith. It may seem like a challenge, but deep down, God is by your side at each step of the way. He is guiding you, even when it seems that there is no one else around. This time of solitude is passing, but its impact will be eternal. With each new day, you become stronger, wiser, and more connected to your divine mission. And the truth is that what you are experiencing now is a hidden gift, an essential phase that will shape you in a way that few people can understand. As you continue on this journey, the purification process intensifies. Silence becomes the perfect space for the development of your soul. Have you ever wondered what great leaders like Moses and Jesus passed before fulfilling their missions? They also had to face loneliness before achieving greatness. Often, thinking of biblical figures such as Moses and Jesus, we focus only on the grandiose works they have done. However, we forgot the lone path they traveled before fulfilling their missions. Moses, for example, spent many years in the desert, away from everything and everyone, before being ready to lead the people of Israel. This time of isolation was crucial so that he could hear the voice of God clearly and fully understand his call. Before we continue, I want to make a special request. If you are not subscribed to our channel, enjoy and subscribe now. You join an incredible community of people committed to spiritual growth and the connection with the divine. It's wonderful to be part of it, don't you think? Let us go together on this journey towards a full and spiritually enlightened life. Jesus also faced his own journey of loneliness before he began his ministry. He spent 40 days in the desert in complete isolation, preparing spiritually for the mission he would come. This period of loneliness was decisive, for there he faced temptations and strengthened his connection with the divine. Like Moses and Jesus, you may be living a time of separation to prepare for something much greater. The isolation you feel now is part of a divine plan. What these biblical examples teach us is that loneliness is not an obstacle, but a tool that God uses to shape his chosen ones. Moses and Jesus were tested during their periods of isolation, and it was at this time that they developed the strength, wisdom, and faith necessary to fulfill their missions. Similarly, you are being prepared. This time of loneliness is allowing you to connect more deeply with divine wisdom, something that can only happen when all distractions are removed. And maybe you ask, why is me? Why is this loneliness part of my journey? The answer is simple. When God chooses someone for a special mission, he needs that person to be completely focused on his purpose. Moses and Jesus needed this time of separation to strengthen his faith and understand the depth of his mission. You, as chosen, are going through the same process. Your loneliness, in fact, is an essential step for you to reach what is to come. This phase of isolation is temporary, but its impact on your life will be eternal. Just as Moses and Jesus have left their stronger and more prepared periods of loneliness, you will also leave this process with clarity and a force you never imagined. This is the moment when God is working silently in your life, shaping you to something that cannot yet see completely, but will be revealed at the right time. Its call is unique, just as theirs was. And most impressive is that during these periods of loneliness, Moses and Jesus were never really alone. They had a deep connection with God, who guided them every step on the way. Similarly, God is with you. the loneliness you feel now is the space where your spiritual connection becomes stronger and clearer. God is preparing you for something grand, just as you did with your great leaders in the past. As you continue on this journey, remember that you are going through a path similar to that of Moses and Jesus. They went through loneliness and purification to become the leaders God intended to be. And by the way, have you realized how silence can be an amazing opportunity to hear what God means to you? Have you ever stopped to notice the power of silence? When everything around you is quiet, you have the opportunity to hear things that often go unnoticed. God often uses silence to communicate with you in a way that words cannot express. When the noise of the world is removed, it is in this silent space that a true connection with the divine can happen. This is where you begin to hear what really matters and what God is trying to reveal to you. Silence has a unique way to open doors for spiritual growth. Many times we are so focused on everyday distractions that we forget to hear the voice of God. And He talks to you in subtle ways which can only be noticed when you are silent. When you allow silence to speak, deep wisdom begins to emerge, a wisdom that can only be understood by those who accept the need to disconnect from chaos and connect with the spiritual. And it is not only the silence around you, but also the silence within you. When you are at peace internally, your soul opens to receive the messages that God is sending. Think about it: how to tune into a radio station. If you are surrounded by interference and noise, it will be impossible to listen clearly. Silence is the moment you adjust your frequency to the correct spiritual connection, where the message becomes clear and full of divine wisdom. The Bible is full of examples in which silence was the key to hearing the voice of God. The prophet Elijah, for example, went to the desert and in the midst of silence heard God, not in a strong wind, nor in an earthquake, but in a small, soft voice. Impressive, isn't it? This shows us that we are often waiting for grand signs, when in fact, God is talking softly, hoping you calm your mind to hear you. And it is in this silence that you will find the answers you have sought. Have you stopped to think about it? And do you know what is even more interesting? When you learn to listen in this silence, you begin to see your life in a completely new way. What once seemed confusing comes to make sense. Its divine mission becomes clearer, and its connection with the divine strengthens itself. Silence becomes a moment of deep revelation, where you begin to understand your purpose of forms you never imagined. And the more you embrace this silence, the more wisdom you get. Isn't that amazing? But here is the challenge. The modern world rarely offers moments of silence. We are constantly being bombarded by information, noise, and distractions. Have you noticed how hard it is to find a moment of peace in the midst of so much noise? And that's why you, as God's chosen, need to actively seek these moments of solitude and silence. It is in this space that you will find the peace you need and the answers that expect to be revealed. God speaks in silence, and if you do not listen, you can end up losing valuable messages to your spiritual journey. So the next time the silence comes, don't run away from it. Embrace it. Allow yourself to hear what God is trying to tell you. And by the way, have you realized that not everyone around you can follow this journey of silence and introspection you are living? Have you noticed how, along your way, some people just move away? This may be painful, but this separation is usually part of the process of spiritual growth. Not everyone is ready to keep up with the rhythm of their evolution. When you are chosen for a larger mission, your energy changes, your perspective transforms, and not all around you are prepared for it. Some people may even admire you at a distance, but they can't keep up with the depth of the path you are treading. This separation does not mean that you are alone or that something is wrong. On the contrary, it is a sign that you are connecting more deeply with the divine. As you grow spiritually, certain people who have once been very important in your life begin to distance themselves. They may not understand what is happening to you, and it is natural to move away. This is not a reflection of who you are, but of your mission, which requires focus and a deeper connection with divine wisdom. You may even try to maintain these relationships, but you realize that they just don't flow anymore. It is not easy to accept that some people are not ready to follow their journey, but it is necessary. God puts the right people in their way at the right time. When some move away, it may be a sign that you are being prepared for something bigger. This phase is a type of purification, where you connect even more with your divine mission. Over time, you will begin to realize that the more aligned you have your spiritual mission, the more selective you will become with the people that allow you around. Not because it is superior, but because the peace you are building within you cannot be disturbed. And let's face it, this peace is too precious to be sacrificed, isn't it? Your circle of friendships can become smaller, but people who remain will be those who really respect and understand their essence. It is as if the universe is removing distractions so you can focus on what really matters. This is a period of healing and growth. People who remain in your life will be those who are on a journey similar to yours. They will understand the value of wisdom, the connection with the divine, and the mission you carry. And although your circle may be smaller, the depth of the connections you will make will be much greater. What once seemed like a loss of friendship, in fact, is a refinement of its purpose. Your energy is changing, and not everyone can deal with this change. In the end, you will realize that these separations are not loss, but adjustments. People who cannot accompany their journey belong to a phase that has passed, and this is natural. As you continue to grow, new connections, more aligned with your divine mission, will emerge. These connections will be more genuine, deeper, and will really contribute to your way. Trust the process, as it is taking you exactly where you need to be. Have you noticed how your presence, even doing nothing, affects the environment around you? This is because its spiritual frequency is unique and intense. When you are deeply connected to the divine, your energy changes, and this change reverberates in the people and places around you. People perceive this energy, even if they can't understand exactly what is happening, and often your reactions can be unexpected. This transforming power you carry is part of your mission. As you grow spiritually, your vibration rises, and with that, you begin to notice that you can no longer tolerate certain behaviors or environments that once were part of your life. This is natural. Its spiritual frequency is higher now and repels what is not in harmony with this new vibration. This can manifest itself as discomfort, as if certain situations or people simply no longer make sense in your life. Energy does not lie, and you are realizing it more and more. Interestingly, this frequency not only removes what is misaligned, but also attracts what is in tune with your mission. When you issue this higher vibration, people who share the same spiritual connection begin to emerge. They are attracted to their light, their transforming energy. It is as if the universe is conspiring to connect you with those who really play a role on your journey. The right energy always finds its way. However, not all around them will understand the impact of their presence. For some, your energy can be disturbing. They may feel that there is something different in you, but they will not know how to explain why. Some may even move away, feeling intimidated or uncomfortable, without understanding exactly why. This is not negative, it is just part of the process. Your mission requires you to keep this frequency high, even if it means that some people cannot stay by your side. The transformation your energy provokes goes beyond what you can imagine. It is able to change whole environments, purify negative energies, and bring a sense of peace to those who are ready to receive it. But for this to happen, it is essential that you continue to cultivate your connection with the divine. This is the source of your strength. Your wisdom and the spiritual abundance you are experiencing grow as you connect more and more with this frequency. And the more aligned you have this energy, the more you transform everything around you. And it's not just about the people around you. You will begin to realize that even your worldview changes. The things they used to worry about now seem insignificant. Small dramas no longer have space in your life. Your mission is too important to be diverted by energies that are not in tune with yours. This power of discernment, this wisdom, is a gift you receive when you connect deeply with your spiritual mission. As your frequency continues to grow, you become a magnet for what really matters, and that's exactly how your journey is being shaped. with purpose, clarity, and a mission that requires your full attention. Speaking of mission, have you already reflected how this lonely journey is actually the path of great spiritual leaders? Walking alone can be one of the most challenging experiences of your life, but also one of the most powerful. Great leaders, since ancient times, have traveled lonely ways, and this is part of your journey as well. Before we continue, I want to make a special request. If you are not subscribed to our channel, enjoy and subscribe now. You join an incredible community of people committed to spiritual growth and the connection with the divine. It's wonderful to be part of it, don't you think? Let us go together on this journey towards a full and spiritually enlightened life. Solitude is not an obstacle, but an essential part of its growth process. When you embrace this path, you begin to understand that this time alone is the moment God is working intensely within you, preparing your soul for something much bigger. Leadership, especially spiritual leadership, requires clarity, focus, and a deep connection with the divine. For this to happen, you need moments of solitude, where all distractions are removed. It is in these moments that your vision becomes clearer, your wiser decisions, and your most evident mission. The lonely path is where you find strength, resilience, and confidence necessary to lead others in the future. As hard as it may seem, this is the basis of your leadership. This challenge of walking alone is also related to responsibility. Not all are called to lead, and those who are need to be, prepared for times when there will be no one by their side except their faith. It is in these moments that you learn to trust God entirely without needing external validation. Great leaders are not made by the number of followers they have, but their ability to continue on the way even when the journey seems deserted. As you advance, you will realize that loneliness does not mean emotional or spiritual isolation. Quite the contrary. This is the time when you strengthen your spiritual connection, your divine mission, and your bond with wisdom. When you accept this phase as part of your growth, you begin to feel the presence of something bigger, guiding you, even when the path seems empty. This is true leadership, being willing to move on, relying on the plan that has been set for you. And do you know something? This lonely path is a sign that you were chosen for something extraordinary. Many can walk together for a while, but few are ready to really lead. Those who accept this call know that there is a greatness waiting for them, something that will only be revealed after this phase of preparation. And look, I need to say, what you are living now is not by chance, it is a training. Accepting this challenge is part of your growth as a spiritual leader, and those who understand this is already a step ahead. It may seem lonely, I know, but this path has a clear purpose. Every step you take is taking you closer to the mission for which you were chosen. And let's be honest, the great leaders are not those who live surrounded by crowds all the time, but those who have the courage to walk alone when necessary. And believe me, this loneliness is temporary. When this phase is over, because yes, it will end, you will realize how essential it was to go through it. All of this is shaping you to lead with more wisdom, faith, and spiritual connection. And maybe now it seems difficult, but this silent preparation is turning you in a way that few can understand. Your mission is grand, and the strength you are gaining now will reflect on your leadership in the future. As you advance in this process, you will realize that this phase of isolation was, in fact, a gift. Have you ever stopped to think about it? How is this moment sculpting the person you are destined to be? Often, what we see as loneliness is actually a preparation for something much greater. And it is in this silence, in this removal of the noise of the world, that you are being prepared to fulfill a unique mission. I know it can be challenging, and you may have already felt like giving up. But I guarantee this phase will pass, and when you pass, you will be ready for a new level of your purpose. Now I want to invite you to reflect. What can you do today to live this phase with more consciousness? Can this isolation be, in fact, its opportunity to strengthen faith, seek more wisdom, and connect even more with God? Can you see this as a gift instead of a weight? And remember one thing, You are not alone on this journey. There are others chosen, just like you, going through the same process. And that's why sharing this message is so important. When we unite, we strengthen each other even more. If this made sense to you, be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. Thus, you keep getting content that will help you grow spiritually. What's more, share this message with someone who needs to hear this today. Maybe this may be exactly the answer that person was expecting.